Do you actually believe you chose what you ate for dinner last night? As a professional, you probably pride yourself on being a sharp negotiator, a savvy marketer, or at least someone who understands how the world works. You think you're in complete control of your decisions. But psychologically, you were programmed and closed before the waiter even poured your tap water. You think you're choosing your dinner, but you're actually following a high-conversion sales funnel printed on cardstock. Look at the top right corner of any high-end menu. There's almost always a $120 seafood platter sitting right there. Nobody buys it, and that's exactly the point. That platter is a sacrificial lamb designed to make your $45 ribeye look like an absolute steal. You didn't choose the steak. You were pushed toward it by a ghost. By the end of this video, I'm going to reveal the invisible ink strategy, a single, completely silent design choice that forces customers to spend 8% more without changing a single price or a single ingredient. If you're in B2B sales, digital marketing, or running a small business right now in 2026, this is the unfair advantage you've been looking for to protect your wallet and to weaponize for your own profit. When you sit down and open a menu, you probably feel like your eyes are just naturally wandering over the options. They aren't. Your eyes follow a pre-programmed path. Think of the restaurant menu as a GPS for your wallet. The second you open it, your gaze instinctively drops to the middle of the page, jumps up to the top right corner, and then scans over to the top left. In the restaurant and marketing world, we call this specific flight path the golden triangle. It is prime real estate. This isn't just a theory. It is the established baseline of our current reality. Extensive eye tracking data shows that diners spend, on average, less than 109 seconds scanning a menu. Think about that. Less than 2 minutes to make a financial and biological commitment. Elite restaurants place their stars, the high-profit, high-popularity items, in these exact 3 spots. Why? Because they know your eyes will naturally settle there, and you will make a purchase decision before decision fatigue even has a chance to kick in. They are essentially building a toll booth on the exact road your brain is guaranteed to drive down. Now, imagine if your Tinder profile worked like this. If you put your absolute best photo directly in the golden triangle of the screen, your match rate wouldn't just go up. It would be mathematically inevitable. You are intercepting human biology, but most people just wing it, throwing a random blurry mirror selfie somewhere in the middle, and then they wonder why they're single. It's the exact same reason so many small businesses go broke. They put their best features where no one is biologically wired to look. So, let me ask you a quick question. Think about the last landing page, pitch deck, or sales brochure you built. Did you intentionally place your most profitable offer in that top right corner of the golden triangle, or did you just bury it somewhere in a massive bulleted list? Tell me in the comments down below. Are you a golden triangle strategist or a winging it victim? Be honest, because recognizing the blind spot is step 1. Now, once your eyes are securely locked onto that prime real estate we just talked about, what do you usually see sitting there? Usually, it's a $120 colossal seafood tower or a $150 dry-aged tomahawk steak. Let me ask you a quick question. Does that $120 lobster exist to be eaten? 3, 2, 1. The answer is no. And here is the reality check. We were totally fooled. That luxury platter isn't a culinary masterpiece. It was actually a mathematical trap designed to be a bodyguard for the $45 sea bass sitting right below it. This is the ugly friend strategy used in nightclubs, but weaponized for your dinner. In consumer psychology, we call this the decoy effect. The expensive item's job isn't to be sold. Its job is to establish price anchoring. Think of price anchoring like a thermostat for your wallet. If you walk into a house that's 100 degrees, a 75-degree room feels like a freezer. By setting the initial temperature of the menu at a scorching $120, your brain's perception of what expensive feels like is completely recalibrated. The restaurant essentially personifies the unreasonable, so that their highly profitable $45 target dish suddenly feels like a safe and entirely rational decision. As business owners and digital marketers, you know exactly how brutal it is to move the needle on conversion rates. I mean, I've spent weeks agonizing over a single headline on a landing page just to get a fraction of a % increase, making me deeply question my career choices. But behavioral economics data, which is the established baseline of our current reality here in 2026, proves the overwhelming power of this invisible design. Adding a $100 decoy item directly next to a $50 target item increases the selection of that $50 item by up to 40% compared to when the $50 item was simply the most expensive option available. You are not buying culinary value. You are buying the psychological relief of not the most expensive status. So, look at your own pricing page. your B2B service tiers, or your SaaS subscriptions. Are you currently using a premium Decoy to make your core offer look like an absolute steal? Or are you just listing a flat rate and hoping the client sees the value? Drop down in the comments right now and type the word Decoy if you actively use this strategy, or type hope if you just realized you've been leaving a 40% conversion bump on the table. They've successfully hijacked your eyes, and with the Decoy, they've hijacked your logic. Now, they need to bypass your biological defense mechanisms. Have you ever noticed that on truly elite menus, or even on high-converting B2B SaaS pricing pages today, the dollar sign is completely missing? You don't see a $45, you just see the bare number 45, usually tucked away at the very end of a description. This isn't a trendy, minimalist aesthetic choice. This is what behavioral economists call an invisibility cloak for your wallet. To your primal brain, the dollar symbol is not just typography. It is a deeply conditioned neurological stop sign. When you see a dollar sign, your brain immediately recognizes that you are about to lose resources. It triggers the exact same region of your neural circuitry that processes physical pain. In psychology, we literally call this the pain of paying. If you stub your toe, or if someone hands you a massive invoice with a giant dollar sign on it, your brain winces in the exact same way. By simply erasing that one little symbol, the menu designer instantly transforms a painful financial transaction into a luxurious culinary experience. You stop calculating the cost and you start imagining the value. And the data backing this up is absolute. Foundational research out of Cornell University proved that diners spend a full 8% more when prices are listed as simple, naked numerals like 24 instead of $24. Now, an 8% bump might not sound like a lottery ticket to a casual observer, but as business owners, digital marketers, and sales professionals operating in the hyper-competitive landscape of 2026, you know the absolute truth. An automatic 8% increase in gross revenue without changing a single product, without hiring new staff, and without increasing your overhead by a single penny is practically a superpower. It is the holy grail of pure profit margin expansion. Think of it like the difference between paying with physical cash versus tapping your phone. Handing over crisp, physical cash feels like tearing off a small piece of your soul. You physically watch your survival resources leaving your hands forever. But double-clicking the side of your phone or swiping a sleek metal credit card, that feels like waving a magic wand. There is zero friction. There is no biological flinch. The menu designer is simply trying to hand you the wand. They are completely removing the visual threat of the cost, leaving your wallet totally unprotected and completely open to the next invisible trigger. Now, once that biological defense is surgically removed, the menu needs to build the fantasy. And it does this through what I call the imagination tax. They do not sell you chicken. Nobody operating in the modern economy of 2026 is paying top dollar for just chicken. Instead, they sell you a slow-roasted, pasture-raised organic bird, finished with a reduction of wild harvested thyme. As a consumer, you read that and think, wow, the chef really cares. But as a digital marketer or a sales professional, you need to recognize what those words actually are. Those descriptive adjectives are not culinary fluff. They are a literal tax on your imagination. They are forcing your brain to mentally simulate the experience of eating the food before the plate even arrives at the table. And the more vivid that mental simulation is, the higher the premium you are willing to pay for it. Look, I get it. I literally spent 3 hours last week staring at a blinking cursor on a Google Doc, aggressively trying to find a fancier synonym for weekly consulting call, just so I could justify a higher B2B retainer fee. And the sad part? It completely worked. We all do it. Foundational behavioral research, specifically the famous data out of Cornell University, proves this conclusively. When restaurants use what are officially known as sensory descriptive labels, sales for that specific item increase by a staggering 27% compared to when it is listed with a plain name. 27%. Just by adding a few carefully selected adjectives to a piece of cardstock.
But here is the part that should actually terrify you as a consumer and deeply inspire you as a business owner. The researchers found that customers who ordered the descriptively labeled items actually rated the food as tasting significantly better. The recipe was identical. The ingredients were exactly the same. The line cooks in the back of the house didn't change a single grain of salt. The only thing that changed was the story you told yourself while you were chewing. You were not just paying for the adjectives.
adjectives. You are literally eating the adjectives. Your brain's expectation of quality physically alters your biological perception of the taste. If you are selling enterprise software, pitching a digital marketing service, or scaling a small local business, you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you just selling chicken? Are you just listing out your deliverables like a boring mechanical spec sheet? Because if you are leaving a massive 27% revenue bump entirely on the table. The imagination tax is the single most profitable tax you will ever collect because your client pays it willingly and it actually makes them happier with the final result. Now, building on that concept, what happens when you decide to take those beautiful, high-converting sensory descriptive labels and slap 100 of them onto a single page? You completely destroy your own conversion rate because a menu with 100 items isn't a choice, it is a chore. If you want to see the masterclass in behavioral economics, you have to look at the rule of 7. Elite designers know that the human brain has a strict biological bandwidth. According to information load theory, specifically rooted in what cognitive psychologists call Miller's Law, our working memory can only handle about 7 items at any given time. If there are more than 7 options in a category, your brain essentially short circuits. Decision paralysis sets in. You get overwhelmed, the cognitive load spikes, and you completely abandon logic to just default to the easiest, safest option. And surprise, the easiest option strategically placed there by the restaurant is almost always the one with the highest profit margin. This is the exact reason why we saw massive fast food conglomerates completely restructure their strategies. Think back to 2024, when McDonald's aggressively simplified their menu offerings and leaned heavily into curated, streamlined value meals. They didn't do it because they ran out of ingredients in the back. They did it because the data is absolute. Making the consumer think less makes them spend more. Let's make this highly visual for a second. Imagine walking into a 24-hour diner and they hand you a sticky, laminated 10-page menu with 300 different items. It is overwhelming. It feels like a cluttered garage sale. Now, contrast that with sitting down at a Michelin star restaurant. They hand you a single, pristine piece of heavy cardstock with exactly 6 meticulously curated options. That is a high-end art gallery. Guess which business model generates exponentially more profit per chair? So, let me ask you a question right now, directly affecting your own margins. When you build your next B2B proposal, digital storefront, or SaaS pricing page, are you going to overwhelm your client with a 15-tier garage sale, or are you going to curate it like a Michelin star gallery? Drop your answer in the comments below. Type garage sale if you're stubborn and love decision paralysis, or type Michelin star if you're ready to actually close higher tickets. Commit to the strategy right now, because here is the ultimate secret, the grand finale of this entire psychological operation. The menu you hold in your hands at a restaurant isn't just a list of food. It is a high-performance sales script. It is meticulously engineered to completely bypass your logical defenses and talk directly to your lizard brain. That invisible ink I promised you at the beginning of this video, it isn't a font. It isn't printed on the paper at all. It is the invisible psychological architecture that surrounds the text. It is the golden triangle that hijacks your visual GPS. It is the decoy effect, establishing price anchoring to warp your perception of value. It is the surgical removal of the dollar sign to erase the pain of paying. And it is the 7-item limit that forces your hand without you ever realizing it. The entire system is built to make you feel like a smart spender, entirely in control of your destiny, while you are actually handing over 15% more profit than you ever intended. But here is the thing. We have only covered how they manipulate your eyes. Now that you know how they design for your vision, do you know how they are currently hacking your biology through your nose? As we sit here in 2026, there is a very specific synthetic scent being actively pumped into the prime real estate of major grocery stores and retail malls right now, and it completely bypasses your conscious thought, making you 30% more likely to buy on pure impulse. If you are a business owner or a digital marketer, understanding the scent of sales is the absolute missing piece to your physical or digital storefront strategy. You've mastered the visual triggers today. Now, you need to master the atmospheric ones. Click the video on your screen right now to see why the best marketers in the world aren't just seen, they are smelled. I'll see you over there.